Hello everyone! I've wanted to talk about the Creation Club for months now, ever since E3. This question leads to that question leads to that question, and quite frankly, I haven't been able to get all of my questions answered satisfactorily. But considering the Creation Club is out right now, I don't think there's a reason to really delay on this anymore. Yes, for those of you who don't know, the Creation Club for Fallout 4 is out for PC, Xbox, and PS4 right now. The day it launched, I had a discussion with the author of Interesting NPCs, aka 3D NPC, and the creator of the Hellfire Power Armor and Chinese Stealth Suit mods for Fallout 4. This was done in podcast format. The next day, I discussed it with the authors of a project that's slowly being worked on called Fallout 4 Redefined. Each of these two discussions had different ideas coming from different mod authors, and I'll make sure to include links to both the podcast and the discussion below. But I'm sure many of you have gone to other YouTube channels or sought out other sources of information on this before. If you haven't, and you were unaware the Creation Club was even launched, you're the person I'm actually talking to right now. That's who this conversation is aimed toward. So the Creation Club was announced by Bethesda Softworks, the publisher, back during E3. And it was to be a system by which authors were able to sign up and create mini DLCs for the game. You may have noticed that I've called this Paid Mods 2.0, and there's a reason behind this. Everyone who screams they're mini DLCs, they are not paid mods, and then proceeds to give me reasons why, when we construct technicalities around something in order to call something something it isn't, that's what we call legal fiction. Now, let's go over a checklist of what the Creation Club mods or DLCs aren't. These are not DLCs of any substance. They are in fact quite small, at present limited to 5,000 forms within the creation tools. For comparison, a small to medium-sized mod may be around 10,000 to 80,000 forms. Also, these are not canon to the game. They do not advance the story in any meaningful way or add insights to the characters. They are reskins, retextures, and other small things. Now, what do you usually call things like that? Well, when the community does it, those little things are usually called mods or modifications. They look like mods, they play like mods. They are, for all intents and purposes, mods. Modifications of the game. So what's the closest thing to them that isn't mods? Well, if I had a look at their store, I'd call those microtransactions. In fact, in a few discussions I've had, I've called them microtransactions, which listeners somehow construed as some kind of attempt to be an apologist for them, because I called them microtransactions instead of mods. They don't understand my stance on microtransactions. Microtransactions have no place in a full-priced, single-player game. DLCs stand in sharp contrast to microtransactions and are usually more substantial updates to the game that either contain new gameplay systems or a continuation of the storyline. Remember when I said these, in their present state, contain none of that? Yeah. They're microtransactions akin to the kind you'd see in a free-to-play game. Now, don't get me wrong. I've helped fund Warframe and Path of Exile single-handedly with my contributions to those free-to-play microtransaction game economies. With Warframe's pay-to-skip and Path of Exile's pay-to-look good, I've done both in great amounts. But what differentiates those games from, say, Skyrim or Fallout 4 is those games are free to play. In lieu of paying up front, like you do with Skyrim or Fallout 4, you are subjected to the temptations of a haves and have-nots system, where you see other players with these microtransactions, these cosmetics, these better things, and you could at a moment's notice spend some real-life money to acquire a cosmetic advantage. A game like Skyrim or Fallout 4 can and has existed for years without any kind of online functionality. And all of a sudden, you can buy Bethesda bucks. Creation Club credits technically, but I'm going to call them Bethesda bucks. At the time of posting this video, at the rate of $7.99 for 700 Bethesda bucks. You know, those are kind of like the prices of the ESO Crown Store. Oh wait, they are the prices of the ESO Crown Store. Hello, ZeniMax Online Studios, or your publisher, Bethesda Softworks, all working under the ZeniMax corporate brand. Now, someone might be asking right now, why can't they just take transactions directly? Why a premium currency? Well, a credit card company charges upwards of 20 cents per transaction. If you take a $1 transaction at a store, it's possible the store is operating at a near loss giving you the product for that much. That's why stores usually have a minimum credit card purchase value. In Bethesda's case, it's $7.99. Yes, indeedy, this isn't Bethesda Game Studios, the creators of Fallout 4 and Skyrim we're talking about. This is ZeniMax Media's publishing division, Bethesda Softworks. You can say they are officially released by Bethesda, and that exempts them from being mods, or modifications. However, again, that's just another case of legal fiction that I mentioned earlier, using that small fact to obfuscate the reality that they've brought back paid mods right in your face. You can trot out small technicalities if you want, argue these aren't mods until the Earth falls into the sun and the sun fizzles out much, much later. But that doesn't mean they aren't microtransaction rubbish in an otherwise full-priced game, which already exempts the entire system from forgiveness in my eyes. Now, I've never been one to encourage piracy. In fact, I ban people regularly from my Discord server and streaming chat for suggesting it, as it's an illegal act. If you want to do it, don't tell anyone you're doing it. I won't judge you if you do it because not everyone has money. However, I will judge you if you try to get other people to do it. Anyway, this is where my exalted hypocrisy can be seen in its full glory. I've never had a problem with someone modifying games, and by extension, I've never had a problem with someone modifying a game to activate premium features like DLCs or pre-order bonuses or other in-game doodads that are supposed to be locked for a superior amount of money paid because they've already purchased the game and it's single player. They can do with it as they wish. Unlike an online game, it affects nobody if they turn on that premium character that was in the game's data files to begin with, but was deactivated because you didn't pre-order the game. No, I have no problem with someone just turning it on. It's an extension of modifying files. See, on-disc DLC is one of the stupidest things that has ever existed. When someone gives you files and turns around and says, no, you can't use them, that's madness. Well, the Creation Club has proven to be exactly that, madness. On-disc DLC. What disc am I talking about? Well, your disc. The Creation Club, in its entirety, at least for its current incarnation, has been downloaded to your hard drive if you have Fallout 4. Just by the virtue of a Steam update, you have all the data files for the Creation Club on your PC. they're deactivated. Anyone with the proper and free third-party tools can extract them, make them into an ESP file, and play them regardless of your current payment with the Creation Club. You can have paid nothing and simply create an ESP file with which to play the content that came with the Creation Club update. There is no security, no encryption. The data files are just there. And the main reason there probably isn't any kind of security is because this wasn't made for the PC players. This was made for PS4 players, and I'll get into that a little later on. Now, even if there was security, even if these features were encrypted in some way, and they're not, the concept of cluttering your hard drive with even more assets that you don't even have the right to use is ridiculous. Ballooning the size of your game up via updates. And it's through those updates that they are bypassing the maximum file size of a game on either the PlayStation or the Xbox. They're using the update functionality to get around it. If this were a co-op game and you gained access to extra skins that you could use, but other players couldn't, it would be one thing, because you would need to have those skins on your computer to be able to see other players who invested into that particular part of the game. Borderlands is an excellent example of this, and while I've not always been on board with their DLC practices, you can see where all players need a complete version of the game, including all the DLCs and everything together in one package, so that players who have that content can interact with players who don't. For a multiplayer game, both players need to have the same version of the game regardless of who has access to what. Yes, multiplayer adds a whole nother dimension of reasoning about why one would have on-disc DLC. And while I'm not going to argue in favor of those practices, I am going to say that it's understandable in the case of a multiplayer game, whereas it's just completely ridiculous in the case of a single-player game like Skyrim or Fallout 4. In the case of a single-player game, placing the burden of holding on to things you've never paid for, you don't have the rights to, placing that burden on the consumer is ridiculous. And that's what the Creation Club is in its entirety, is ridiculous. So we've already established the Creation Club at its inception is trash-level microtransactions of the quality of mods you pay for. Content, not unlike mods, which you pay for. Paid for mod-like content. Mods. Paid mods. Paid mods 2.0. This is what they wanted. This is what they got. And regardless of how you argue it, how you want to say because it's officially endorsed it's not a mod, it's a mod. Paid mod, specifically. They brought it back. Now, if you want to hear my discussions with mod authors, go check out the links below the video to see how I've discussed the Creation Club with them. My opinion is just my opinion, but modders are being affected by this as they are the people who are making mods, as these are the people who maybe wanted to sign on to the Creation Club. And I'm pretty sure people want to know how that turned out, right? Well, first of all, when you sign up to the Creation Club, you're not signing on as a modder. You are signing on as a professional contractor with the publisher Bethesda Softworks. This is important because there are several stipulations that separate you from a modder. Despite the fact you're going to be creating mod-like content and people are going to be paying for it, you know, obviously, it's not paid mods. Oh, okay, I'm going to put that to bed. Hold on. Modders own their own work. ZeniMax Media saw to that in their newer iterations of the Creation Kit EULA, or User in License Agreement. They don't do this because of altruism. They don't do it because they respect the modders or they respect the community. They do it for their own legal protection. You see, there's a level of responsibility inherent in ownership. And you see, providing the tools for modding is a tacit endorsement of modders. It is a tacit endorsement of the use of mods. And because of that, if anything goes wrong, the blame needs to sit with the owners of the mods. And that is why modders own their mods. Not because Bethesda cares about you, but because if anything goes wrong, they're not to blame. The mod author is. If someone's mod manages to give you a virus or break your game or do some kind of lasting damage to your PC, ZeniMax Media and their publishing branch, Bethesda Softworks, they want no part of that. With the Creation Club, they don't have to worry about that at all, as they will be overseeing your work. You will submit an alpha. You will be given feedback. You will be expected to incorporate that feedback into a beta. You will get more feedback, and the entire thing will be reviewed properly before a full release. Unlike some random, dirty, unwashed modder, they can take responsibility for your work. And as such, they can claim ownership of it, which they do. Now, I've got logs of prominent members in the Skyrim modding community, responsible for some of the better, nay, I would say essential mods or patches for Skyrim. And these logs go back about as far as a year ago. And they told us how the return of paid mods will be akin to a creative renaissance. And mod authors will be free. It will free mod authors to make what they want. It'll correct the disparity between modders who can't profit from their work and YouTubers who could profit from their work. Alas, this was all just wishful thinking. Because as a contractor with Bethesda and ZeniMax, you will make what they tell you to make, to the specifications they tell you to make it. It's not just about ensuring compatibility. Your employers have complete control. It's a walled garden, and you will grow what they tell you to grow as a contracted employee. That is to say, you will make nothing that is too large that may devalue the other microtransactions they have available. Thus, everything will be to a certain standard, a certain level of quality, which is consistent throughout the Creation Club, or at least this is what I've been told. Now, I trust the person who told me this. I was told that pretty much every author who came to them saying they wanted to create a mega mod was turned down because, number one, because reviewing, testing, and trying to debug anything going on, they don't want to have any part of that. They want easy, simple microtransactions to sell, and they do not want anyone upstaging the work that was made in-house, because this whole thing was built in-house originally, and then they've let mod authors sign on. So from what I've been told, big sweeping changes, game changers, revolutionary stuff, none of that need apply. If you're good at creating 3D models, they would like you to produce various individual armors, weapons, doodads, furniture, small things that can be sold as microtransactions. Now, why haven't we been told this plainly in simple terms? It wouldn't benefit them to tell us that. So let me explain the structure of how the Creation Club actually works. Most of the content for the Creation Club will be produced internally. What does this mean? If even a single mod author were not added to the club, which they have been, but assuming that the moment they announced the Creation Club, no mod authors signed on, or there was a problem with all of them and not a single one got through, they would still have a portfolio to show. That was very important with the establishment of the Creation Club, because the Creation Club is a microtransaction store for Skyrim and Fallout 4. Currently, just Fallout 4. Anyway, reports are various mod authors having been accepted into the Creation Club. People have asked me, why aren't they talking about it? Why aren't they saying anything more than, I got accepted? They just leave it dead at that. The reason is very simple. Every contract with Bethesda comes with an ironclad NDA, or non-disclosure agreement, meaning they aren't allowed to discuss anything about the Creation Club. That includes the limitations on the mods or microtransactions. That includes how much they're being paid and any internal policies or procedures. I'm told their payments are not handled in a revenue share like the old paid mod system allowed, where modders owned their work, but rather people working in the Creation Club will be paid for milestones, an initial payment, a payment for a beta, and a full release, accumulating in an overall contracted payment. If at any time they decide the contract is working out, they can terminate it and take your work and develop it the rest of the way in-house. One way or another, your work, while you are developing as a contracted developer, belongs to Bethesda. So any illusions of this being a creative renaissance is gone. Bethesda has learned well from the original paid mod system that Valve decided they didn't want to be a part of anymore because of the massive legal and public relations liabilities involved. Bethesda Softworks is taking on no liabilities whatsoever, selling small, profitable microtransactions. These microtransactions are not aimed at the PC player base or the Xbox player base, although they'll gladly take your money if you want to pay them, because why the hell not? I'm told they've already had massive success with their targeted demographic, the PlayStation 4. Now, if you're a PC player, your common sense need not apply to their demographic. You see, they're aiming at folks who will pay $40 to $100 a month on FIFA and other games like it. The kings of microtransactions. They want you to pay, and that's how their business model's going to work. They're creating a market on a platform that didn't need to have a market, but Sony created that market for them, and I'll explain. Sony built a walled garden on the PS4. Sony utterly refuses to allow anyone to develop for the platform without a Sony developer's license. Bethesda has one, mod makers do not. That's why Bethesda couldn't get mods containing external assets on the PlayStation 4. Those assets were not approved. Through Bethesda's license, however, the Creation Club content can be pushed forward since it's being pushed through Bethesda. Bethesda is taking responsibility for it, having helped develop it. The PlayStation 4 players, eager for new content, are going to eat up that Creation Club content, making the entire system profitable. PC players being able to bypass security doesn't matter. Xbox players already having mods on Bethesda, and that doesn't matter. It's the PlayStation owners that are going to fund this system. And there we have it, folks, the Creation Club. They've remonetized a game that they've already sold you with microtransactions. I said this before during the original paid mod system. If a paid mod system were properly curated, it would actually benefit the community and allow for some really great group projects. For those of you who don't know, id Software, the developers who created Quake and Doom and Wolfenstein, they used to license out modders who formed their own studios, like Rogue or Hypnotic, in order to make full-on expansion packs to their games. When I talk about a paid mod system that would work, I'm talking about groups of modders that get together, form a studio, and actually sell expansion packs. Sizable chunks of content. Not this. What we have now are peanuts, inconsequential garbage. I really hope that Bethesda can salvage this and make it into something great, but I'm not optimistic considering what certain people have told me regarding their internal policies, which actively discourage what I'm hoping will happen. I'll have more on this topic as it develops. However, check out this picture of the guy who has the armor from Prey. He didn't pay for it. He just enabled the file. Isn't that kind of funny? Either way, check the links for more content. I'm going to be keeping an eye on the Creation Club and talking about it some more as it progresses. However, I expected horse armor, and I got horse armor. I'll see y'all next time.